All right, welcome back to CKLA Chats. I am DLC Foster-Yankey, and in this video, we will be chatting about Lesson 5, The Rise of the Reformers in 5th grade, Unit 6, The Reformation. So the core text for this lesson is the Reformation movement. Students are reading this chapter to understand what Martin Luther, John Calvin, and others contributed to the Reformation movement. We're going to start with the first component in Lesson 5, which is reading. The cup for reading is students will know the 4 key people of the Reformation. They'll understand the contributions of key people of the Reformation, and they'll be able to demonstrate comprehension of the chapter, the Reformation movement, by using a timeline to summarize key events and people of the Reformation. The reading is divided into 3 subcomponents for a total of 45 minutes, 30 minutes whole group reading of the chapter. They'll do a wrap-up discussion for 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes of word work about the word self-discipline. So for the whole group reading of chapter 4 for 30 minutes, the teacher tells the students that they are going to read chapter 4, the Reformation movement, and as usual, has them use the table of contents to turn to the chapter. They're going to preview the vocabulary together like they always do. And then a student will read the big question at the beginning of the chapter, which is, what did Martin Luther, John Calvin, and others contribute to the Reformation movement? And the teacher is going to, of course, ensure that students understand the question. So most of the whole group reading for this chapter proceeds as follows. The students are going to read the first 4 paragraphs of this page silently, and then the teacher is going to ask this inferential question here. They're going to continue silently reading the section Growing Doubts on the bottom of page 34 and the top of page 36, and the teacher is going to ask this literal question. They'll read the remainder of this page silently, page 36, and the teacher is going to ask an evaluative question. They'll read page 38 silently, and the teacher will ask this inferential question. Then they'll read page 39 silently, and the teacher will ask a literal question. Okay, so pretty much starting to be a pattern here. They'll read pages 40 and 41 silently, and the teacher will ask these literal and evaluative questions. Then they'll read pages 42 and 43 silently, and the teacher will ask these literal and inferential questions. After the questions, there's a check for understanding, where the teacher is going to have students think about the 4 key people that they read about in this chapter by saying the names of a variety of historical figures from different time periods, and having students raise their hands when they hear an important figure from the Reformation. Okay, to wrap up for 10 minutes, students are going to turn to activity page 5.2 here and follow the directions, which are to cut the right side of this page along the dotted line. And they're going to glue these 2 pages together to create a timeline. The activity is they're going to be taking notes on the actions of Martin Luther, the Pope, and Frederick III from the chapter, making sure that they list page numbers to reference where they found the information. They're going to do this in small groups, summarizing the major events of the chapter by recording those events on a timeline. And again, for each event completed, they're going to cite the specific passage in the text that provides the information needed to describe the event. So once they are done working on that, all the groups are going to share out, and there's going to be a discussion about where they put the events, what their notes were. They're going to review the answers as a class using this sequence of events document from the digital components. Moving on to word work for 5 minutes. They're going to follow their routine with the teacher using the word in context and that sentence from the reader. Students are going to repeat. The teacher will give the definition, a sample sentence, and ask for examples of things you must be self-disciplined to achieve. Students are going to respond using the word self-disciplined in their response. 2 to 3 students will do that using that in a sentence. The teacher will ask for the part of speech, and there's a discussion activity for follow-up in which students will talk with their partner about someone they know who is or was self-disciplined. They'll describe how being self-disciplined helped that person achieve something, making sure that they use the word self-discipline in complete sentences. The teacher will give students an example of someone they know who is self-disciplined and how his or her self-discipline has contributed to success. Okay, moving on to writing, the next component of lesson 5. This is divided into 3 subcomponents for the remaining 45 minutes of the ELA block. Review with a partner for 5 minutes, draft a friendly letter, whole group 30 minutes, lesson wrap up with a partner for 10 minutes. Take a closer look at each of those subcomponents. So for the writing, they're basically reviewing what a friendly letter is. The students are going to be put into pairs, and the teacher is going to refer to the sample letter, just reminding students that they also have access to this on activity page 2.6. Students are going to discuss questions 5 through 10 on activity page 3.3 with their partner. They chose 2 of those questions to answer during lesson 3. They're going to share their answers to those 2 questions with their partner. Next, students are going to work independently using activity pages 3.3 and 5.3 to draft their friendly letter from Jacques. The teacher is going to remind them to include all the parts of a friendly letter and tell them that their letter should have a clear purpose and supporting details. Remind them that friendly letters can include humor and casual language, and encourage them to use strong verbs in their writing. So as they are drafting their letters for this 30 minutes, the teacher should be moving around the room, circulating and checking in with them as they're writing. To wrap up for 10 minutes, students are going to return to their partners and read their letters to one another. The partner's job as they're listening is to make sure that the letter has a purpose. So they're listening for the purpose of the letter, and they're going to repeat it to the writer at the end of the reading. As a check for understanding, the teacher is going to remind students what strong verbs do while we use strong verbs, and share a few sample excerpts from student letters. They'll have students raise their hands when they hear a strong verb. And then the teacher will also allow a few students to suggest strong verbs to replace weak verbs. While students are sharing with their partners, the teacher is circulating and checking in to ensure they are sharing their letters and offering appropriate feedback. At the end of class, the letters are collected to review and provide written feedback. And they do have some great suggestions at the end of the lesson for specific feedback that teachers can give about those letters. And that concludes lesson 5. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.